Good morning, everyone. I'm very glad to be here at the, I guess, special date. You see the 5 over there, which has, I think, special meaning. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to sing happy birthday, but actually, it's the 5th birthday of our journey and the start of NFV. In fact, October 23rd, 2012, in Darmstadt, at the SDN Congress and OpenFlow, we initiated this whole thing, which has not just shaken the telco industry as such, but also a kind of big leap towards changing the way we as operators are operating. And it's a great journey since then. We at Deutsche Telekom, basically from day one, we were one of the founders of the industry study group within ETSI. And we have been following this, actively participating and promoting it and hosting all 6 events. And I'd like to take the opportunity here to thank both Mark and Robert for the great job they have done and they are doing by organizing all these great events, bringing the industry together and making sure that this topic as a whole has become more and more relevant across our industries. And today, what I like to do is basically take a view on what have been achieved so far. So in adjacent to the 5th birthday, my 5 observations, as well as a little forward statement. Now, if you look, when you talk about cloudification, softwareization, in the theory, you have all sorts of possibilities to combine multiple things together because the software should work. The reality is that only some combination of the infrastructure stack and the application really works, and only a subset of that is in a state where with a lot of hard work you can make it telco grade. So we have been trying to, as an industry, trying to basically push this whole concept to both sides, of the infrastructure side and the application side. And I have to admit that looking back, and this is an area where I think so far we failed, because there is still those people, those folks who are responsible to develop those services and applications, there is a mismatch in terms of how you design your application in a way to make best use of a common infrastructure rather than going back to the monolithic state. And remember, this whole thing was set up to move us operators away from what I call a Stone Age production model with monolithic racks, turnkey black boxes, into a full softwareized stack with all the benefits of automation. So I think on this particular subject, there is a big way to go. And both the infrastructure and application, we need to work hand in hand, because that wall over there, that's not only existing within the operators, but the same wall, sometimes even thicker, I have to admit, exists at the supplier side. And I believe as an industry, we all need to work together, take the learnings, and make sure jointly we tear that wall down. Now, this whole journey of softwareization has, from day one, the aspiration to basically learn from the web, from the enterprise, and what we call the hyperscale companies. So to me, and for Deutsche Telekom, it's quite clear that the target state we are looking at for production, telco grade, should be cloud native. But now realistically, if you look where we have started and where we are, I see now finally on some slide set from some marketing people the vocabulary cloud native, But the reality is that we are still far away from the pure cloud-native vision we had envisaged many years ago. So we started with virtualization, and VNDT in 2013, we have been virtualizing IMS quite successfully. But what you do is, it's a good step to learn and experience, but actually what you do on the operational side, you just add complexity. Because you're missing all those elements which make the cloud environment effective and efficient. Then we moved to cloud-friendly. In fact, within the PANet, we have launched beginning of the year the first service for 9 markets, which is basically, I call this baby steps toward the cloud. We use the cloud infrastructure, but still the challenge remains how to ensure high availability across a distributed cloud over multiple countries. And cloud resilience is actually the minimum we have to aim for in order to be able to produce telco-grade services. And there, last year at World Congress in Barcelona, we have been able to demo this with the EPC, with the split architecture. I guess the challenge there is you need to decouple the control and forwarding plane. Now, for some of our core services, this requires changes in the standards in order to do that, so that when you build things up, turn down, that there is no impact for the customer. So you're starting leveraging some of the aspects of a cloud production. And ultimately, where we want to go is, again, cloud native, where applications and services are running as microservices on container, where you have full flexibility, and basically through full automation, you hide and start managing that complexity. Otherwise, it's becoming just an operating nightmare for many, many years for all of us. Now, another observation is that initially, and I think this picture is basically the original target model which we have been envisaging, is that we have the same life cycle we are having for the VNFs, we should also have for the infrastructure. Well, our learning, our experience has shown that this is a big mistake. And to be honest, if you really look at the web companies, you know, the Facebook, the Google, yes, they do a lot of automation, continuous deployment, continuous testing, but they do it on the service level. Their infrastructure, it's pretty stable, and they are much more conservative when it comes to the infrastructure, the foundation layer, than they are when it comes to the applications. And I guess for us also the big learning has been that we need to decouple these two things, and we need to treat them separately. That also means that from the infrastructure layer, we as an operator, we are not going to always put the latest Linux kernel, you know, the newest OpenStack release. You need a level of stability and continuity. And that has been a big learning for us. And I think there is still way to improve that. Orchestration and automation. This is an area where I see a lot of light. I have to admit that we came a long way from the origins of the Etsy group to where we are. And certainly a big proportion of the industry has been now converged towards ONAP. Now, this is good, but two things to keep in mind. First, I still believe there is a big way to go, because we don't have the full industry, is a big part of it, and yet the outcome of there, even when the first release I think is now due for November, is not fully usable. So I think it's a journey, and a lot of people are moving to ONAP, so that the brand and everything is in there. But if you look inside who is really contributing to that, actively in that community, I think there's much more to do. And here, I love this picture. We also use this quite often internally also with the board to illustrate what we are actually talking about. If you, and we did some projects, logistic projects with Narrowband IoT. If you look at modern harbors, this one is from Hamburg, but I'm sure Rotterdam is the same and even larger, is what they have achieved in terms of lean production and full automation with up to zero manual intervention is exactly what we should aim for. And I believe we are engineers and we love new things, new technologies. I've been lucky enough to go through the whole cycle of technology leadership roles, including global operations. And I can tell you, the most important thing is to be able to run it properly, not that it works. You need to be able to operate it properly. And orchestration and automation is key for us to bring multiple millions of subscribers to a mission-critical service and run this fully cloudified. It's a cloud-native application. Otherwise, it's just a nightmare. And the amount of people you would, in theory, need to do this manually, no one can ever. So, huge, important area. And now, through this journey and talking to many of the industry leaders, peers from other operators, our partners and suppliers, and also going through this journey with at DT, with also the PAN nets of global production, one thing has become obvious, and I'm very, very bold on this statement. The challenge to set up an infrastructure cloud and start running services on it is a challenge, and we are most of us are engineers. We love complexity. Sometimes we create complexity as well, and we love to do this, and we go and tweak around, and it works. But to be honest with you, as an organization, as a business, that challenge is maximum 10% of the real issue. The cloud is just a trigger. Cloudification, softwareization is just a trigger. Nothing else. Is a trigger to a massive organizational and business transformations. And that transformation involves people, and don't underestimate, with all the things software is about people, processes, and also procurement. And with people, at least for us operators, it's a huge challenge. In the 80s, and also the beginning of the 90s, the golden age of GSM in the mobile sector, all the good engineers, they wanted to work for us, to work for an operator paradise. So we always got the best possible talents. Late 90s and the first half of 2000, the picture changed. They wanted to go and work for the vendors, for the Ciscos of this world, and so forth and so on. And then, in the last couple of years, it changed again. All those bright people, the young ones, they want to go and work for Facebook, Google, and Amazon. So, per definition, it's very difficult to attract talent who has deep knowledge on software. And without those resources, it's very difficult to run this transformation. And also don't forget, the network people, and in a classical organization, and it's very similar across the world. If you look at engineering, most of the engineering organizations are basically, they are organized around domains. So you have the core people, you have the RAN or access, and then you have the transport. And for their whole life, they have been associating themselves with a node, with a network node. They are responsible. They know all the interfaces. Actually, we ran out of letters, so we are now 2 and 3 letters in the standardization, and it's the node. Bringing a cloudification and bringing this transformation means that you go away from nodes, you go to functions, and those functions compose a service. It's a huge change, and it's very, very difficult to manage. And it's important as a leaders that you just not impose that change on them, that basically you set up a proper change program to take them with you. Second thing is, of course, processes. I mean, for, I don't know, a century, we have been used to work in phases or waterfall, depending on the company, which with a lot of handovers. I do first this, and then I take someone else takes over. So now, moving this, everyone talks about agile, but moving this to what I call a software-based model. And I'm very cautious with DevOps, because DevOps is a classical IT terms. If we want to translate it one-to-one, we need a telco DevOps, but we need to adjust that a bit. That require basically to go through all your processes from demand, which involves even business, is even outside of technology, to procurement and operation and support and so forth and so on. You need to change all those processes. You need to adjust them. And it's a bloody difficult task, because people in the whole organization and the top management has been used to work in a certain way. And now we come and say, no, we need to go left. And last but not least, procurement. Part of this beautiful vision is, of course, through the softwareization and decoupling and what we call disaggregation, that basically you can purchase your hardware, white labeled from Taiwan forever, whatever, and then you buy your services. But that means, first of all, we need to change the way we do one of the tasks I hate most, which is RFIs, RFP, RFQs, producing books of requirements, preparing them 9 months, sending them to vendors and asking for response within 2 weeks, and then spending another 6 months analyzing what they have responded. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So it requires a fundamental change, and for those procurement areas where there is an incentive, how many RFIs and RFQs they are running, coming up with new incentives, how we can manage this process. So just repeating that because it's very important. The technicality of this whole journey, to me, to my team, is maximum 10% of the challenge. The real challenge is the real transformation to support that, which is people, processes, and procurement. So now, looking forward, the cloudification softwareization brings a lot of great new ways of producing, flexibility, and agility. But the only way we can succeed is brutal automation. In fact, at my team, when I joined DT, one of the things we did, we were reviewing our architecture principles. And you have these things, customer first, design to cost. Now, customer is the most important thing, but what we put first as a principle is design for automation. And we have this vision, zero-touch network service management, and similar to the journey we have been taking with NFV, we are now keen to go that journey for our vision and drive this within the industry study group in ETSI to make sure that we create this as a standard, as a community, rather than, again, each operator doing their own thing. And to be honest with you, the key success to all of this at the end is that we achieve full automation. And now, no human involvement might sound a little bit, is a vision, but you need to have the vision. And a great guy said once, how do you know what is possible if you didn't try the impossible? So that's our vision. And with that, thank you very much for listening, and hope to have a great event. And happy to talk to you afterwards in the breaks if you have any questions. Thank you very much.